How's it going, everybody? I'm Drifty from Driftwood Gaming, and this is going to be Dwarf Fortress. I've played this game roughly 30 hours and learned a little bit on how to play. I'm not an expert by any means, but I think it's a fantastic game. I have put hundreds of hours into RimWorld and games like that, so I have an idea of what I'm doing. In this video, we're going to follow the journey of 7 dwarves and whoever may join the colony, and I'll show you anything interesting that happens along the way. So let's just get started. I'm going to create a new world. I'm going to keep everything exactly default. I'm not going to touch anything. We're going to go straight to create world. So it's pretty cool to see the world change over time. I'm generating 100 years and the world is slightly changing. New caves and buildings are popping up. New fortresses are being created and destroyed. Once it's done generating all of that, you can hover your mouse over and you can see. I'm going to go ahead and click on play now. Right now there's Fortress and Legends. Legends just shows you the lore of everything that was created in the world. It's just a bunch of text boxes, really cool, but usually you probably want to be invested in the world before you want to read about it. So we're going to click on Fortress and create our own adventure inside the world that we just created. I'm looking forward to when they put out Adventurer mode. This is going to be like a dwarf RPG, and you go around the world as one dwarf. I'm really interested to see how this is going to play out. I know it works in the old ASCII version, but I can't decipher it. So I'm glad they moved it to Steam so that people with smooth brains like myself can understand and play this game, because it's really good. So let's start a fortress. So it fast forwards a couple weeks into the game. We're going to skip the tutorial. I've already done it. It's pretty good. Nice little tutorial. Middle mouse click to move the map around. We can scroll through here. I've died mostly of starvation at the beginning. Died to death zombies rather. Completely annihilated my entire group. One thing I found was very frustrating was digging into water and flooding everything. So I'm going to use one of the advanced features that says find Embark location, and it's going to let us specifically look for locations with specific things that we want. Now, I don't really care for too much of all of these. I'm not going to change any settings, but I want to find on the map where it generated no aquifers. So let's say no light aquifers, no heavy aquifers. So this means there's not going to be underground water pockets. And so when I'm digging down, I can plan my base a little bit better. So I'm going to hit begin on that, and it's going to start scanning from top left, and it's going to take chunks and scan throughout this map and find areas where there's no aquifers. And the green means it met all the requirements. So in these little green pockets are areas where I would consider starting my dwarfs living. But we need to click on this. It's important to click on choose origin civilization. You don't need to pick the biggest, baddest group of dwarves, but if you pick a group of dwarves that you're coming from that's very small, like only a couple hundred or less, then you're going to have a hard time, and they might want to rule you. And it's going to be kind of frustrating when you have a bunch of dwarfs, like hundreds of dwarfs, and then this faction that you've come from has got 100 dwarves, and they're claiming to be the king, and they want special things because they have titles and they're the nobles. It's going to be very frustrating. So you want to find some larger group, ideally. Now that I've got the map scanned mostly and I can see the green section where there are no aquifers, I'm going to look at the dwarfs and figure out what's the best location for me to start in. You can see the blue highlight around certain tiles where they are. So in this instance, all of the starting dwarfs are good. 820 is enough, and then of course 1400 is better, and then 2600 is better. So I'm going to go with the highest amount of them, and then find a green area around these guys. So we're going to be descendants of the Lucid Cudgel, and we're going to spawn around their area where they have all their fortresses so that it's easier to travel to and from, and they're also going to be fighting off goblins and any angry people. I like to start around trees because it's really nice to be able to have wood to do stuff. So I'm going to click on the map now in an area that had mountains on one side and trees on the other. And I want to find a spot where there's a river or brook and some trees and maybe some mountains as well. I'm going to right click on this menu once I've selected the ones I want to be. and then that'll let me be able to see more. The red blocks are civilizations. So this is Dwarven Hillocks. These are Dwarven Mountain Halls. Over here in the forest, these are Elven forest retreats, so we don't want to be too close to those. And if we were to like settle right here and chop a lot of trees, they might show up and get pissed off. So this seems like a good spot. We have a Dwarven fortress here, which isn't too far away from where we want to settle. I'm going to settle right here because we have some mountains, we have some trees, we also have a brook, and there are no aquifers in this little tile. I'm going to click on the Embark button, and then I'm going to match up this square with this green square right here. Once again, I'm going to keep everything completely default, changing none of the settings, and just go straight to play now. So once we've set out, we have our set of dwarfs, and the game is paused. We can press play to go, but it might be a good idea to do a few things before you start getting going. What I'm going to do is click down on any of these buttons right here, and it'll bring up this menu here. And I want to click on labor and close all these tutorial tooltips because I don't really need them. Now, we start with 2 pickaxes, and we only have one guy that's dedicated to mining. And when you look at your jobs by clicking on labor right here, you'll see that some jobs will only do what they're assigned to doing. So the only dwarves that will mine are the ones that have been assigned to mining, even though you have 2 pickaxes. And you're going to be doing a lot of mining, so it makes a lot of sense to immediately assign a second miner. So I'm going to assign our fisher dwarf to mining. So now we'll double our mining speed right from the beginning. Same with wood cutting. I'm going to assign the planter to also cut trees. So something I like to do kind of quickly, even though it will piss the one person off because they don't have an office yet, is to go into nobles and administrators. You can click on this crown to get there, or any of these buttons, and just click it up here. And I'm going to assign a couple of people here. I'm going to assign a broker, and I'm going to go for the person who's got the most appraising skills. And then I'm going to assign a bookkeeper, and the only one who's got skills is the planter. He's the record keeper, so we're going to assign him. If nobody has skills, it's fine. They'll gain skills over time. But you can see the bookkeeper, he wants a study. He wants a meager study. We don't have a study yet, so we're going to assign him a study as soon as we can. But what this will do is once he has a study, it's going to let us know exactly how much food and drink and seeds and meat. Right now we have rough approximations, and we'll get an exact detailed amount once he has a study. Once we've got that set up, we can click on our wagon and see what we start with. We've got some cloth, we've got some bags of seeds, we have an anvil, we've got some basic weapons. We probably want to start a military immediately so that they can start training. So we'll look at that real quick by clicking on the bottom right here, squad. So we're going to create a squad. We're going to create a militia commander. So clicking on the nobles, the militia commander, click right here. Whoever you want, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to make our stone crafter the militia commander for now. Then we can create a new squad. And for now, we're just going to say metal armor. It'll put them all in metal armor. You can click and change the icon if you want. I'm going to make it a diamond. Click on the check mark, and we're going to click on schedule. And I'm going to make them stagger their training. So by clicking on this right here, they're going to stagger their training. And if we have staggered training on, we can specifically define when we want them to be training. I'm going to have them do 3 months on, 3 months off. Change the way that your staggered training works. Like right now, I think it defaults 3 off, 3 on, so forth, so on. You can just click copy on one of them. And when you're done copying it, you can hit done. But I'm going to copy on train over on this constant training one. And I'm going to paste it over here. And then I'm going to paste it over here. So I've got 3 months off, 3 months training, 3 months off, and then finally 3 months training. When I'm selecting staggered training for this squad, they'll be training half the year and then doing whatever they want the other half. Otherwise, they'll get a little bored and pissy. So we're just going to have one guy in our squad right now, but we're going to set that up now at the beginning. So when death zombies attack, we can promptly flee and run into our barracks. Okay, now that we got all of that out of the way, we can take a look at our map. If we middle click, we can move around. If we scroll with the middle mouse, it changes the elevation. These are the trees that we can see here. This is water. And if I move up here, we can see some mountains. Hovering over things with your mouse acts as sort of like your eyes, so you can see what is in that square. I'm going to settle over here on this left side because we've got forage and we've got trees, and that'll be a little bit better. And we can dig toward the center of the map. So I'm going to mine into here, hit play. I'm going to chop down some trees. Right here, that's plenty. We're going to do some foraging in this little area here. And I'm going to set up a stockpile zone by clicking on this button here. I'm going to set up a stockpile zone right here. And we're going to hit accept, and I'm going to say this is for all the wood, and they'll move all the wood into the stockpile. If we want to expand it, we can left click on it, click on this button, and draw it out even farther so that we have plenty of space for wood. Why not? The elves aren't too far away. They might get mad if we chop too much wood, but that's fine. We're going to need a lot, so we're going to definitely be chopping these trees down. All right. Let's keep mining. We definitely should be mining a lot more than what I'm doing. So let's mine. We've got a little tunnel entrance. I'm going to expand it. To make stairs, it's pretty easy. You click on the digging orders and then click on stairs. And then you're just going to like say, let's make a staircase here. And you left click once and then you scroll down however many floors you want to go. Let's go really far down. Let's go to elevation 30 and then boom. It's going to make staircase super easy. We got 9 staircases. The reason why we use multiple is so everyone doesn't have to crowd through one. It helps when you have a bigger fortress to have like 4 or 9 staircases. They don't have to be all next to each other, but that's convenient. We do need to set up a meeting zone really quick so that the dwarves can get out of the rain. So in order to do that, we're going to click on this green thing. We're going to click on the meeting area, and I'm going to go ahead and do this. And be like, okay, here we go. This big area is going to be our meeting zone. We'll click on this button here. We're going to make this a tavern. So now it is our tavern. I'm going to adjust the settings and say right now, only citizens and long-term residents. I'm not looking for tons of dwarfs. I'm not trying to expand too quickly because all these dwarfs have their own wants and desires, and they're going to want their own rooms. And I'm just getting started. So I think just setting it up so that I can take care of 7 of them is going to be okay for now. You can see they've started to move in and like they're all hanging out in this area. We do have some animals and they will just stand here in the tavern and starve to death. So it's a good idea to click on zones and click on pen pasture and set up a pasture zone, a nice big luxurious area for the animals to just graze and eat forage stuff. And now that's set up. One thing you'll have to do is assign them to it. So you click on it and then you say, okay, all my animals go here into the pasture. Now dogs and cats don't necessarily need to be assigned to the pasture, but I'm going to do that this time anyway. So we want to be able to keep digging so we can set priority orders. So let's click on the digging button here and you can see numbers over here. If you want to hide your squad, you can. It doesn't need to eat up all that real estate. So I'm going to go ahead and say that the regular mining orders are going to be set to 3 for the first room here. And we'll dig out this direction too. And anything I want higher priority, I'll raise the number on. So like say I've got all these orders over here for them to dig this way. But if I'm like, yo, I need this digged a lot faster, well, I can set this to 2 or even 1. And then they'll come over here, stop what they're doing, and they'll go to the 2 section and start mining that out. I'm like, okay, well, no, actually, I want this to be mined straight up right here. They're going to stop what they're doing, go over here and mine this straight up because it's a 1. And that's how the priorities will work. It's really simple and it's cool. I like how it's easy. If you paint this as a 3 and you decide, no, I actually want this to be done sooner, you can just go over it and paint it again with another number and they'll come over here and start mining it. They'll do the highest number first. The next thing we want to do is set up a main stockpile zone, figure out where we want to hold the majority of our items, probably down a little bit lower. So let's go ahead and set up mining work orders to dig out all of this over here. I would like a big area for our stockpile. On the left-hand side, we get pop-ups that gives us information like when we strike into new gems and ores, the weather changing, and when certain orders can't be completed for whatever reason. So right off the bat, in here, I'm going to set up some workshops. So I'm going to click on workshops, and then I'm going to set up a carpenter's, and then I'm going to select the thing I have the most of. So it looks like we're going to be using shale, and it'll use that ingredient to build it. You can also just automate that and have it grab whatever's closest. I also want to set up a metalsmith underneath it, like this, using the iron anvil, the one we have, and shale. And then I'm going to set up another workshop for stoneworking. So we've got some basic stuff like that. Wood stuff, metal stuff, and stone stuff. Luckily, the game does pause when it presents these big menus. You can take your time to look at your inventory and your stock and figure out what you want to do. In order to do work orders, we're going to need a manager. So let's go ahead and assign a manager. Apparently, the expedition leader is good enough for that. They still want some meager studies, so we're going to set that up real soon. We'll do a work order, and we need to make some beds. Let's make 10 beds. We also will need some other stuff like some barrels. It's a good idea to make a certain number of things at the beginning, like bags, barrels, bins, beds, all of the B's. You're going to want some doors as well. Now we're going to go to the stoneworkers and add some orders for rock bookcase. We're going to want some rock coffers, and we're going to want some rock thrones. We need to set up a study so that the bookkeeper can approve these orders. So let's go ahead and set that up. It's going to be in zone, and we set up an office. So I'm going to set up an office over here, and we're going to do a 4x4 office and accept that. And I'm going to put down some walls as well for now. You can find walls in constructions on the build menu. Just click it here. And we have a lot of shale, so we're going to use shale. I mean, sometimes you want to use higher grade material for these walls because they're going to be happier if it's a higher value item. I'm going to build another wall. And as soon as we get some doors made, I'm going to plop a door down, place it there. We do have one door, so we're going to make that a table. We don't have a table yet. We need to get some stone tables made, so let's add a work order for that. Rock table. You can search in here. And we do need to assign this to somebody. So I'll click on the zones, click on this, and we're going to assign this to our bookkeeper. Actually, we're going to assign this to our expedition leader. He's our manager as well. Now we're going to furnish it with a chair. Simple stone throne is all he really needs at this point. And let's check to see if it satisfied his needs. It did. You can see that he had a room. He's got a room that's got just a chair in it. It's just got a stone throne in it, and it's walled. And he's like, yo, that's a meager study. I'll take it. So now he's happy. He will approve our work orders when we use the work order screen down here. He's satisfied. He's a noble who has been satisfied. Our bookkeeper, however, needs a study too. But before we go ahead and make that happen, we're going to need to set up our stockpile zone. So we'll do that real quick, all the way like this. Expand it all the way across. This entire spot here is going to be our stockpile zone. This is a big, big stockpile. We'll hit accept. We're going to say all. One thing we won't have in here for now is wood. So let's go to custom, click on wood, click on none. So don't put wood in here because we have a wood stockpile already. Also, I don't want corpses in here, so we'll say none. But because of that, we need to decide where we're going to make, where we're going to store our corpses and where we're going to put our dump. So one thing we want to do is go back to the top, and we're going to set up a dumping zone by clicking on this button down here, the green square. We're going to set up our dump right here. We're going to say anything that is just garbage, just throw it over here. That's our garbage zone over here. This will be our temporary garbage zone. Not too far away because we don't want to make them walk across the map and get it kidnapped and whatnot. Stuff can happen. Attacked by wild animals and whatnot. Let's set up another zone, a stockpile zone rather, for corpses. Let's put corpses somewhere else. Maybe we put them a little bit deeper. If you place a mining order and you want to remove it, just click on this eraser and then click where you want to remove it. And that should work just fine. Over time, your dwarves will gain experience and just take on new roles. We need to set up beds for our dwarves. They're going to be really pissy if we don't do that soon. So on this layer here, I'm going to set up some rooms for them. So that's enough for 18 dwarves right there if we get these rooms dug out. Now that we've got some beds built and some other furniture and stuff built, we're going to start placing the rooms down for their bedrooms. So a good thing to do for this section is to say, use closest material, keep building after placement, and then we go here and select our bed. A good way to do this is to click here, go to furniture, click on bed, select use closest material, and check mark keep building after placement so that you can just plop all the beds down. Although they won't be bedrooms until we place doors, so we'll do the same thing. Dwarfs like to have a cabinet to store their clothing in. They like to have a coffer as well to store other consumables and stuff in. So we're going to provide those things to them. So they won't automatically assign these to themselves unless we set the zone to be beds. So we click on the green box in the bottom there and we click on bedroom. We're going to click on multi, and then we're going to drag on the top left and go to the top right or the bottom right and select all of them. And you'll see that it highlights certain sections that are acceptable as bed. You'll notice that this one didn't get turned into a bedroom because it's still missing a door. So we're creating 9 rooms by clicking done. And they'll automatically assign themselves to it. If you want to change who's assigned to what, you can click on the square and manually assign who gets what room. You're going to want to do that later for assigning like nobles their own luxurious bedrooms and whatnot. The plebeian dwarves will be happy with a 2x2 with a bed, a door, a coffer, and a cabinet. So it looks like some migrants have arrived. We've been doing a terrible job of food and drink. Typically, if you have a lot of food and drink, you get more people coming. Maybe it also has to do with if you have rooms for them to live in. We have to set up some food and drink, otherwise we're going to starve. So I'm going to set that up now. What we're going to do is I paused the game because we're running low on food and drink and a bunch of dwarves just showed up. 12 dwarves just showed up. They're like, hey, we live here now. Okay, that means I have to continue to furnish these rooms, but we're going to starve if I don't set up food. So I paused the game to press workshops, and we're going to set up farming. We're going to do farm plots down here, and I'm going to set up a little farm zone right here like this. So a dwarf will come in here and till this little area, and we're going to set this up to grow plump helmet spawn all year round. The next thing we're going to do is set up a workshop for the kitchen, and we'll set that up right here. And we're going to need one more workshop for farming. We're going to need a brewery, a still. So I'm going to set the still up here. And then we're going to get these done as soon as possible. Another thing we could do is set up a fishery and have them catch live fish. We have some plants for food, but it would be a good idea to keep harvesting. Instead of having to remember to do it manually, what you can do is set up a zone. And you can click on gather fruit. And then what we can do is select a section of area and then go like this and a nice large section of area like that. And now this area will be continually gathered and they'll bring in plants, and you'll see over time our plants will go up. And once we have the kitchen going, the plants will be turned into food because we'll have them make meals out of those things. So the kitchen is up and running. What we need to do is click on it and add a new task. And I'm going to prepare a lavish meal, and I'm going to click on this button, which means indefinitely do it. Make as many lavish meals forever. And when you can't, we're going to prepare a fine meal, infinitely make. Okay, if you can't do lavish meals, then start trying to do fine meals. And if you can't do that, prepare easy meals infinitely. Now, this is like a little trick to constantly make the best meals you can as many times as you can. And once they stop, it will remove that order. Once they can't make fine meals, it'll remove that one. And then once they can't make easy meals, it'll remove that one. So you have to put this back in. You should be able to continue to do this while you're bringing in meat, fish, and plants. In order to get meat, you'll have to set up traps, and then you'll have to set up a fishery to catch fish. You'll also need to just be by a brook, which luckily we have been set up by a brook. You will also have some dwarfs that drown because of this. So what I'm going to do now is brew drink from plants and infinitely do that. Plump helmets for summer. Go to autumn. Plump helmets in autumn. Plump helmets in winter. And plump helmets in spring. If we go to labor kitchen, plump helmets, we don't want them to be cooked. So if we're going to be cooking our plump helmet, it's going to ruin those seeds. The seeds will be dead and we can't use them again. But if we use plump helmets just to brew drink, the seeds will return and we can use those seeds again. Any type of soil should work for it as long as it's underground. We're running low on wood. We're doing a lot of bed building and door building. So I'm going to continue to chop trees down. Now, people will die from chopping trees. It'll say an overworld thing has collapsed, and then you might just see your population drop by 1, and then like a minute later notice you get an alert saying a dwarf died. That happens. Luckily, it hasn't happened to us yet. We did get a huge influx of dwarfs faster than I wanted, faster than I was expecting. So we have to keep doing our work orders of making beds and doors and that sort of thing to be able to accommodate for this many people. We need to remember to also set up the zones for the beds. Click on multi and drag across. So we have 12 beds of the 19 dwarfs. We might want to set up a temporary area once we have enough beds for a dormitory. So any dwarfs that haven't been assigned a bedroom yet can just kind of crash in a bigger open dormitory area. So let's continue to go down and keep digging, but I want to keep digging our stockpile to make that bigger and bigger and bigger. So you can see a dwarf will grab a wheelbarrow and grab rocks and bring them down and start storing them. Whenever you have room, they'll put stuff in the stockpile zone. It looks like somebody is fighting here. We've got a fight between a dog and a bull. So the dog and the bull got tired of each other. It might be a good idea to remove the dogs from the grazing zone. I don't think they need to actually be in the grazing zone, so I'll go ahead and do that. We'll take the 2 dogs and the 2 cats out of the grazing zone. It seems like it's going to crash every time it saves. It never does, though. Just don't click or do anything when it's saving, and you shouldn't have any issues. We're probably going to want to set up some sort of crafting workstation, maybe a jewel crafter station. That way, when a trade caravan shows up, we have some things to trade. So I'm going to set up a crafting station here and also a jewel crafters station. Now our mushrooms are starting to grow and they're harvesting them, and we're setting up a new order. From time to time, you'll have to add another task to get them to continue to do that. Another thing you can do to increase the value of these rooms is to smooth the walls. Although I wouldn't recommend doing that unless you need to increase the value of them for some reason for a noble, because it takes a very long time. So typically, unless there's a reason to smooth it, or you just need something for your dwarves to do, smoothing of the walls is not really required. So this is a pop-up saying that we're about to get a caravan that shows up before winter. It's really important to have stuff built, crafted, so that you can trade something. A good thing that I've found is to have goblets. If you've managed to strike gold or silver, make goblets. Of course, that requires more stations. It's hard to do that in the first year. The first year, you're probably not going to have too much to trade. If you do, then you probably know what you're doing already. So we can click on this diplomacy button, and it's going to start a conversation with the caravan. And you can request things that they will bring next year. Helmet spawn seeds, and maybe like some sweet pod seeds as well for next year. That's it. Just bring me some seeds. They're going to charge me double for them, but they'll definitely have them. So we say okay, and they're going to say, okay, when we show up next year, we want X, Y, Z things. In this case, they're saying they want shields and bucklers. So we need to craft a bunch of shields and bucklers over this next year. So when they show up with a bunch of seeds, we can go, you guys wanted shields and bucklers. Here's all the shields and bucklers. And they pay like almost double for it. For the trading, really good thing. It'll make or break you. We have to do something. We need to go here and build a supply trade depot thing very quickly. So let's go ahead and plop that down and have them come out here and build that. We've already got a broker. When this is done here, we'll be able to bring the broker in to appraise our items. This is done. We're going to click on move goods. And now we can select from the items we have in our stockpiles to bring to trade. We don't really have much to trade. One thing about logs and wooden items, if elves show up to trade, don't offer them anything made out of wood. They'll get pissed off that you're chopping trees. We did make quite a few bookcases that we probably don't need. So I'm going to go ahead and offer the most expensive ones up, higher quality ones. You'll notice they have like these little marks, like minus symbols and plus symbols and asterisks. That dictates different qualities. More symbols usually means higher quality and better stuff. Like I said, we don't have much to sell, so anything that was just crafted of a higher quality, like this Dolomite throne, we're just going to bring these up. They also have a weight limit, so they won't be able to accept like just an infinite number of things. They have a set amount of weight that they can carry. They also have a set amount of items. Now, we have been producing a lot of food, and we're cooking them at a kitchen, and we're making luxurious meals. And so they like that. This is the most expensive thing we have. So we're going to sell those. We seem to have plenty of food to be able to do that. Now, we're not going to offer too much. We don't have too much. Looks like this cabinet, or no, it was a door. This is a high quality door. You want to buy a door. They're very heavy. They probably won't be able to hold it, but we're going to bring it to the trade depot. Now, we do have a bin full of gems that we could offer as trade value. I'm going to bring it to the trade depot just in case there's something we can't pass up, but there's a good chance I'm not going to sell this. Just because you select it here doesn't mean it's going to be sold. So once we've selected the things we want to bring, we can right-click the menu, and it will go away, and we can go back to the top here and click on this, and you'll see that we're awaiting items to be brought here. Now we need to click this button for the broker to finish what he's doing and go to the trade depot as well. When they show up to trade, they'll bring their goods over here. Anyway, since they're here, they brought their goods, we brought our goods, our broker's here, the trade button is accessible, so we're going to click it. They're still unloading. They're not even done unloading yet, so we have to wait a little bit. Once they're done unloading, we'll try again. Now they've brought everything to the depot. Now we can see everything we brought to the depot on this side. Check marking is offering it to sell it, and then check marking over here is offering to buy it. You can see the value of what we have offered up and the value of what we're requesting on this side. We can offer anything we have as a gift. We can also try to seize goods from other factions, although you can't really seize stuff from the same faction. We just recently also got an influx of population, so we gained more dwarfs faster than I really wanted them. But anyway, let's see what the merchants have for sale here. This iron pick, I would like that pick because then we can have more people mining. Iron shield, that's good to have. Here we go. Bags of seeds. This is what I'm looking for mainly. Specifically the plump helmet spawn. So we're going to buy all of those that we can. Dimple cup as well. Buying bags is a good idea because getting cloth is kind of hard to do. Some sweet pods. Some cave wheat seeds. I'm going to buy 1 sheep wool. I'm going to buy 1 llama wool. This caravan is a large selection and they won't all have this many things. It would be nice to get another anvil. Let's see what we can offer up. Now, because we brought the entire bin of gems, that doesn't mean we have to sell the entire bin of gems. It just makes it easier to store and move. They do have the ability to carry a lot of weight, luckily, so we can sell some stone thrones and whatnot. So they're definitely not going to take a trade where you get a bigger value. They typically want like 30% profit. So unless you offer them like 30% profit, they're not even going to accept your trade. In this case, we're going to need to give them pretty much all of our gems. It would have been better to work on refining these gems, but getting started is pretty hard, and typically these runs have ended for me early. So I'm willing to give up my first run of lots of gems. We can always mine deeper and more greedily. So they are happy with this, giving them all of the gems that I brought to the table minus the bin itself, and everything I brought except for an empty bin. They'll take the trade. They'll give us what we asked for, which are some seeds, some different cloth, another pickaxe, and an iron shield. That's going to be a good trade, so we'll accept that trade. Because it was in the green, they're for sure going to accept it because it's like, yeah, well, we're making a good amount of money. They accept the trade. If it's yellow, you can try to offer, and there's like a 50-50 chance that they'll take the trade. And there's a chance that they'll be like pissed off and just leave. You don't want to do that. Maybe gamble once in the yellow, and then if they say no, then make it green for them and then hit trade. And we are getting more dwarfs. All right, so they're throwing a little party right now. We got more migrants, and they're singing and dancing. This is the most miserable little tavern that you can imagine. It's just it's dirt, but they're dancing and they're happy about it, and they're just having a merry old time. I would be smart to make a bigger, better tavern, a little bit deeper, and put walls and drinks and tables and all that. We don't have that yet. First year's a little rough. Here, we're gonna put a table down here. Another table right here. Give them some chairs. We'll check the size of the zone. Yeah, it's definitely good still. So that's basically the first year of my Dwarf Fortress. Nothing really exciting happened. We survived. We grew a lot faster than I was expecting to. Maybe I'm learning how to play better. This is my 7th run into Dwarf Fortress. We need to expand. Well, there's so much we need to do. But that's going to be the first episode of this Colony Dwarf Fortress. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up. Let me know that you want to see more of this, and I will do more of it. Pretty much. Join us on the Discord. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're interested in it. Love you guys very much. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you guys in the next episode, whether it's Dwarf Fortress or something else. Have a good one. Bye-bye.